They say you can tell a lot about a person by the contents of their freezer. So, what does a bottle of Jägermeister say? It says you have standards, you don't cut corners, and you like your Jägermeister shots the way they're meant to be enjoyed, ice cold. As for the frozen taquitos and mystery leftovers, we'll keep that between us. Drink it cold, or don't drink it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. Drink responsibly. Jägermeister liqueur, 35% alcohol by volume. Imported by Mast Jägermeister, U.S. White Plains, New York.
LinkedIn is great at connecting you with the world's largest professional network. But it can't connect you with motivation on a Monday morning. LinkedIn can help you get insights from your professional community. But it can't give you any insight into why Dave's still talking on mute. And while it can't stop your boss from bringing tuna for lunch, LinkedIn can help bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com to learn more.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey. I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn. Welcome to How Are the Podcast, and you join us in the middle of a week that could potentially result in something that hasn't happened to Sunderland AFC in around half a century. And it's our best chance of this happening in around a quarter of a century, because we are, of course, talking about qualifying for Europe. And we could say it's incredible season for a lot of different reasons. But just for me, I wrote this week and on this day on Monday, which highlighted that it was 5 years to the day on Monday since Lincoln City beat us in the playoff semi-final. And at the time, fans were just returning to stadiums to watch football because of COVID. And 5 years later, only Chelsea and potentially other results, see how it goes, stand in our way of playing in Europe next season. So we thought it was a good time for a good old Q&A. And this is likely to be part one because you lovely people have sent in so many questions. And I have a couple of gentlemen who will no doubt ramp up the excitement. And first up, we have Martin Wanless. Hello, Martin.
Man, you're giving us some billing there, aren't you? You're setting some expectation, ramping up the excitement. Come on, Chris. We don't need any more excitement, do we? We're on the verge of Europe. We don't need me and Andrew to ramp up the excitement.
Well, you say I thought I would set you up with that line because then if you were knackered and you just went, all right, mate. I was expecting a really dull response from you. But yeah, it is a big week, mate. And you, of course, caught up on the Monday supplement to get into it. But fifth away win of the season. I mean, just to say that, isn't it? It is a massive achievement. Never mind anything else.
No, it absolutely is. I think the last thing I said on the Monday pod was, if anybody had said to us that we'd go into the last game of the season with something to play for, we'd all have been delighted because we'd have thought we'd have a chance of staying up. So the fact that we've got a chance of doing something in the last game of the season, that is a lot better than just staying up. Speaks absolute volumes to everything that's gone on around the club over the past 12 months, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, we do on these days, and I went back and 5 years ago, I've done a few recently just to put everything into perspective. It was only 2 years ago that we ended up finishing 16th, and of course, being disappointed with that season in the Championship. 5 years ago, we were getting beat off Lincoln in the semi-final. So the turnaround in just a few years has been fantastic. And also joining us today, we have Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, mate. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's never dull at Sunderland.
Oh, Andrew, I talked about ramping up the excitement,
There's
man.
the excitement. What do you want? There it is.
I thought I was being positive. It's never boring. There's always something happening at Sunderland, and I might not sound it, but I am proper excited for the weekend. I cannot wait. It's going to be massive, I think. Is that good enough, Chris? Was that all
Well, I
right?
do
Or do you
want-
need to add on a bit more?
No, well, you can add on as much as you want because we're going to get into it. But I do want you to kind of hang back a little bit on the Chelsea game because, like I said, a lot of people have sent in a lot of questions specifically about the weekend and the game, and we might save that for the part two. We'll see how we go, but we might want to hang fire on some of that. But Andrew, just quickly, because were you there at the weekend?
No, I wasn't there, sadly. I watched it on TV, and it was my view from the sofa was pretty good.
But you've been to the Hill Dickinson, haven't you? It's a nice stadium.
It's a really good stadium. I was there for the cup game a couple of months prior. It's a brilliant ground, and of course, you're always going to have fond memories when you're coming away from there with good results. Bless them. I'm not sure the Everton fans are too keen on it at the moment because they couldn't get away from there quick enough when the third one went in. But yeah, it's a good ground, and I think Everton are doing quite well in terms of turnover there now. So it's probably something Sunderland need to look at going forward, and can we improve commercial revenue? But it was a good game, and this is why you're in the Premier League, to visit these fantastic stadiums and try and get results there and come away bouncing.
Yeah. I mean, just very quickly, Andrew, just sticking with you for a second, because I know Martin talked a little bit about the game, but just to get your perspective on it, because in the initial reaction, I talked with Bomber and Ant. And I don't know about you, Andrew, but did you find especially the first 45 minutes a little bit confusing when we went in at half time, because it felt like we went in behind, but it was we completely controlled the game, but didn't create anything. So it was this kind of element of, well, we've played well, but we haven't created anything. And one side of you wanted to say we played well, and the other side was, well, how can you say that when we haven't had many chances? It was confusing, wasn't it?
It was similar in a lot of respects to the game up at St James a couple of weeks ago, in that we were trailing at half time, but other than the goal, you couldn't really be unhappy. It was just a case of Sunderland setting their stall out, kind of sizing everything up. And there's been a lot of times, hasn't there, recently, where at half time you've thought, well, that's okay so far, but we now expect Sunderland to step it up. And that's a good feeling to have. And if we're feeling that as supporters, you've got to assume that opposition teams are aware of it. They're going to be panicking, thinking, oh, we're only 1-0 up against Sunderland. We know for a fact they're going to come back at us. So yeah, half-time was this bizarre, I should be unhappy because we're losing, but I wasn't panicking or anything like that. And as the stats started to come up on the screen in the second half, you could see what was happening. I think Everton had conceded the most goals in the final 15 minutes of a game. Sunderland obviously had this great record of coming from behind in games and picking up points from losing positions. I think one of the graphics said we've got one of the highest amounts of goals in the last 10 minutes. Did I see that, or did I imagine that? I think I did, but it all just points towards a team who play for 90 minutes. They have a plan. They keep their cool, and it's just a wonderful position to be in, where going behind doesn't have to be game over. And you mentioned there, Chris, our fifth away win of the season. That's our best away record in the Premier League since 2010-11. So that just shows you at the moment how good a team we've got compared to previous Sunderland eras. We really are a side that are growing and can be depended upon to compete both at the stadium and on the road.
You've clearly been reading Steve Bruce's CV in your spare time. I'm sure he's got it on there somewhere. But Martin, and I know you talked about it lots, but and apologies, I have the shame of saying I haven't got round to listening to that podcast yet, so I feel very, very shameful saying that on here, but I just haven't had the time. But just to bring you in on that performance, because obviously that element of of that first half performance, controlling it, but not really being able to create many chances. But also just the point of view, Martin, that I think this has been Labrisse's strategy from the very beginning, that he's got the tools to keep it tight and stay in games. And it's almost like, I always compare it to, if you look at how managers manage, especially at the top level, rugby union games, they stay in games, and the last 15, 20 minutes in a rugby union game is always the most important. It's who's the most energetic and who can get those points. And it's always at the top level, there's only a few points in it, and the best teams always ramp it up in the last phase of the game. And I think that's been Labrisse's strategy. He's wanted to stay in games, be solid, and then get those big moments later on.
Well, he's talked a lot, hasn't he, about starters and finishers. And that's not by accident, because that's how he does see the players that we've got. And, we've struggled at times this season with the strength that we've had on the bench, haven't we? But we've got a few players back fit, and the bench is really strong on Sunday. And he had those players to be able to make a change. Now, I actually think he got a little bit surprised at how Everton approached the game on Sunday, because I don't think he was expecting Everton to let us have as much possession as we end up having. So we end up with a situation where we had an awful lot of possession. But, you asked the question earlier, like, did we actually play well in the first half? We played some nice football, but in terms of playing well with the ultimate, need to score a goal and threaten a goal, we didn't. So I find it really hard to say that we played well as a football team in that first half. We passed the ball around nicely. We looked energetic. We created some nice space, but we didn't threaten their goal whatsoever. So I likened it to the Coventry semi-final, where everyone's going, "Oh, Coventry played brilliantly." Well, I had a lot of the ball. Is that playing brilliantly? No, because you haven't scored. You haven't threatened the goal. So the first half was a little bit like that. They obviously got that fortunate goal, but, that was the sort of goal that first half was going to get, because neither side really threatened. Second half was a little bit more open. But, we capitalised on a mistake from them to get the equaliser. And then the game opens up, doesn't it? That's where we're best. When that game opens up in the last half an hour, he's able to make some subs, let the shackles off a little bit and go for it. And, he made some great subs who affected the game. And, you just have to look at that last goal that we scored, because you can look just at the finish from Isidor, which was a fantastic finish, but the move was superb. Right from the back, we must have played, 7, 8, 9, 10 passes. And there weren't simple, straightforward passes. There were people dropping off, making good runs, getting just in front, being really sharp, moving again. And to have that amount of energy and that effort and application in injury time, in that situation where it'd be far easier to try to keep the ball and kill the game off. But we tried to kill the game off by getting that third goal, which paid dividends. So I think you can, and this is probably something that we'll come on to in this podcast, because when you look at the team that we've got, if we were playing a cup final on Sunday, if we were playing a title decider, we are going into the game, and it could be a decider for Europe. The three of us could sit here now, and I think we'd probably agree on 8, if not 9 starting positions if everybody's fit. You can name the players. The 2 positions which would cause the most debate are left wing and right wing. So we haven't got people who've nailed down that position, because they haven't had the consistent output and consistent impact on games that you actually want them to have. So you can see there where the big opportunity for us is this summer. And it might come from players who are there already, or it might come from incoming players through transfers that we make. But that, to me, is a really exciting thing, because you can see how we could improve that team so easily. Like, we've done fantastically well this season, but you can kind of see, well, if you get that supply line from out wide happening a bit more, you're going to create more chances for Brian Brobby. You're going to get the ball to Enzo Lafay in more dangerous positions, and he can work his magic. And it all relies on those wide positions. And, there's a few elements to that, isn't there, including a certain Mr. Trey Young, which I'm sure there'll be a question about. But that's the exciting thing for me. So going back to your question, I think we did play well in one dimension, but in a football match, if we're going to be consistent, you can't say Coventry played well in that semi-final last year, because yes, they had a lot of the ball, but they didn't do out. none of us can sit here and go, "Oh, we played brilliant in that first half," because we didn't have a shot.
Well, let's get into some of those players, actually, because I think this first question we've got in from Paul Rackstraw links in with some of that, Andrew. And he asks about Luke O'Nien, because he says, how good was O'Nien? Some of those challenges he made, Alderete and Ballard don't get to. I don't think we can progress with him as a regular starter, but how important is he to the squad, especially if we do get into Europe and we will need a captain, as Xhaka won't play every game? So, yeah, he did another good performance by O'Nien. Came in, thought he was fantastic. I mean, there was some sliding tackles at the death when it looked like Everton might go through, saved the day. But what do you think of Paul's question on Luke O'Nien?
I think that's a very good point about if we get into Europe, will he have a large part to play? Because I think he would. He'd perhaps expect to get a few starts in European competition, and he would be somebody who would be a leader figure for the team. He was brilliant on Sunday. He's all action. He's acrobatic. You know, some of the positions he contorts himself in when he's, just trying to get a head on the ball or get a slide tackle in, he really puts himself on the line. He's smart with it as well. He isn't just like this daft kid who throws himself around all the time. He can read a game pretty well also. And I think his place in the squad and his importance to the squad is there for all to see when the way Xhaka is with him. Granted, Xhaka talks to him as if they're on a similar level, and as if they're both singing from the same hymn sheet all the time. So if Granit Xhaka can see his worth to the group and respects him as a member of that group, that speaks volumes. So no, he perhaps isn't a regular starter for us, but he's a great option to have. It always impresses me how you can drop him in to a game, either off the bench or to start, and he plays as if he's at 100% fitness. He never comes on and looks as if he's a little bit off the pace. So I really respect his conditioning and how he keeps himself prepared for all eventualities. And yes, if Europe does happen and there's more games to play and a tougher schedule, I can fully see him being a big part of that.
Yeah. And just very quickly, bring you on Luke O'Nien, Martin. I mean, from my point of view, I think it's a real tough one for him because he's going to want to stay. He's part of the fabric now at the club, and potentially he could go on to do other things when he's done. But a football career isn't that long, really. And if he spends too long not playing first team football week in, week out, does it seem a waste when he is that good and he can maybe, go to another club and maybe get promotion or whatever in the championship? And, it's a tough one for him because of course, he's looked like he's really enjoyed this season. But when he has to think about it in the summer, he's got a decision to make, hasn't he?
He has. Look, it will be interesting. That's something that could hinge on whether we do get into Europe or not. Because if we do get in Europe, as Andrew said, there's tons more games to play, and we're going to need a squad that's significantly bigger than the one that we've got now. So you'd probably see quite a lot of action in Europe. And look, it really depends on him as well in terms of what his motivation really is at this point. Because, how old is he? 31, 32, probably next birthday, I think. Is he going to want to go and slog it out in the championship week in, week out for a team? Is he going to get a chance of playing in a team that's, got the possibility of winning the championship? If West Ham go down, for example, I'd be straight on the phone to Luke O'Nien if I'm West Ham and try to get him into the back of your West Ham defence to lead your promotion charge. Because he's that sort of player, isn't he? I can kind of see him going to a club like that to some extent. But it really depends how much importance he actually places on minutes on the field, as opposed to the importance of playing a part on and off the field in this story he's created for himself at Sunderland. Because this story for him at Sunderland potentially isn't over. If you imagine if we, I'm living in, here, you want some excitement, right? How about this? You look at getting to Europe, win the European Cup at the end of next season, Granit Xhaka and Luke O'Nien are lifting that European Cup. Now, is Luke O'Nien prepared to sacrifice that possibility for an extra 20 games next season? That's only a question that he can answer. But if I was him, that prospect of that next chapter of his Sunderland story being even better than what's come before would make me think, I'm going to stick around. And you've got that bit to it. We all forget that footballers are people who've got families. He's got a young family, settled in schools in the area and all that sort of stuff. You've got the whole thing about uprooting them, changing their lives upside down and all that sort of stuff. There might have been talks about coaching opportunities. You can see him being one of those players who is the under-21s coach and playing under-21s football in a season or two's time, 3 seasons' time. So there's so much about it that I think it's really hard to kind of say one way or the other what he might do. I hope he stays. I think his importance off the field can't be underestimated. And while we're not going to have as many players coming in during the summer, I don't think, as we had last summer, we are going to have a bit of a change around in playing squad. I think, you wouldn't be surprised to see 5, 6, 7, 8 players arrive during the summer. And they only brought into Sunderland what it's all about. And I think O'Nien is pivotal in making that happen. So I'd be really, really sad to see him go because I think he's so integral to what happens at Sunderland. And, the success that we've had this season, even though he hasn't been on the pitch for a lot of it is down to him.
I did say ramp up the excitement there, Martin, but bloody hell, talking about lifting the European trophy at the end of next season. And I tell you what, picturing that, there might be a few players looking to renegotiate their contract in the summer and with a nice little bonus just in case that happens if we do qualify. But I think that's a very good time to take a quick break. We'll be back very soon.
You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
Some things happen fast, like a vacuum finding your lost earring. A dog reacting to the word walk. And settling up with friends on the PayPal app. Send and receive money in seconds. Access your balance to send, shop, pay bills, and more. Download the PayPal app to get started. An account with PayPal is required to send and receive money. A PayPal balance account is required to hold and use a balance.
No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
And welcome back to Habit the Podcast. And we were just talking before the break about Luke O'Nien. And we've got another question in, Andrew, about another player who's maybe a question mark for this summer, but had a nice moment at the weekend. LD sent us a question in about Isidor. He said, Isidor's celebration. He asks, is it a man playing for a move or reinvigorated striker ready to kick on next season?
I didn't see the celebration because I was too busy going through my own celebrations at that point. So I don't know what he did. One thing there's a lot of things that really impressed me, But something that really impresses me about this group is there are one or two players who their futures are uncertain, but they're still putting it in when they're getting their minutes. Isidor has come on there and he hasn't sulked, he hasn't whinged about the fact he didn't come on against Man United or anything like that. He's just put away a really good finish. And that is yet another sign to me that when we're signing players, we are looking at not just their technical abilities, but their mindset. Are they bad apples? Are they going to rock the boat? Or are they going to come along and want to be a part of things and keep working hard? Because Isidor falls into that category by the looks of it. And if he is to move on, it's going to be a lot easier to find a decent club if you've looked at him and thought, hey, he's still grafted when the chips are down, he's still put it in. So we have no way of knowing. It's the same with Gertrude. Over the last few weeks, we seem to have reports saying Isidor's definitely away. Then there's other times when you think, oh, maybe not, maybe he wants to stay here. From what we understand, his family don't live in the area. So whilst he likes it at Sunderland and he seems to have a connection with the club, it might be that circumstances dictate he moves on. If he does, no problem whatsoever. Wish him all the best. But so far, over the past few weeks, he's shown that he's committed and he could do something for us if he stays. And again, this factor, this potential European challenge, if we make it, might just change one or two people's opinions, because players who might be thinking, I'm never going to get a look in here, suddenly are looking at the potential of 10, 12 extra games and thinking, oh, I could force myself in. And it also makes us more attractive just in terms of status. Some players might think, oh, well, I could go and play somewhere else and get 30 appearances, or I could stay at a club where I'm settled, where the mood is good, and be playing in Europe. So some decisions which we might have thought had been made could potentially be getting reversed by the end of the weekend.
Well, we've got another one, Martin, from Chris Day, and it's a bit of a three-parter, I think, this one, so you might want to take notes as I'm asking it, because he asks on a few different players, actually. He says, starts off by saying, Adingra is better than Angulo. Why have we replaced him with him? He also says, what does he see in Talby? That he drops him all the time. And he also says, Gertrude is absolutely class. Why aren't we signing him? So three parts of that question, and I suppose all of those have been, a couple of those certainly have been debated for long periods this season.
They have. To start with, with Adingra and Angulo, I don't see that Adingra's better than Angulo. I don't see anything that clearly suggests that. I think the club really, really fancy Angulo. I think you can tell that by, for one, the money they spent on him in January and how keen they were to get him into the club in January. His goals output he's in Belgium, I think, wasn't he? His goals output over there was really, really good. And I think they are kind of doing that thing that we've done in the past. We will bring a player in January, give them that half a season to bed in with the intention of them really kicking on to next season. I think Angulo will be our number one left winger at the start of next season. I think the club are really hot on them. And I think we'll see a really, really good player. Look, there was loads of bits with that Adingra, wasn't there, where he came in. He obviously wasn't fancied by Lebris when he got him in the building. And whether that was for his work rate or what have you, I think it probably was that. Because defensively, he was quite suspect and he could be got at. Angulo, we know, has played wing-back before, and he works really hard defensively. So I think that's the key point of difference there between those two. And I really think we'll see Angulo kick on a lot more than he has. He's been hampered by injury, hasn't he? And look, we should get a decent fee back from Adingra from Monaco. So I think that'll just all be signed off and done, and we'll kind of forget he's ever been here, really. Talby is an interesting one because he obviously came in during the summer, started off in the right wing, even though he had the reputation of being a left winger. Didn't really pull up many trees on the right wing. We replaced him with Traore as soon as Traore was fit, really. He's been in and out on the left-hand side. He rarely seems to play 2 games in a row. Does he out there? It's quite a strange one. But again, he's a really young player.
Just quickly, Martin, do you think it was harsh that he got dropped for the Everton game?
No, because I think they want to see what Angulo can do. They know what Talby can do. I think there's a feeling that they know what Talby's all about. They know when they can trust him, when he can produce things. And I think they want to give Angulo time on the pitch to get him ready for next season. And also it goes back to that point, doesn't it, about having starters and finishers. And Talby's a really explosive player to bring off the bench and can cause havoc. And, he plays his part on Sunday. So the consensus from people who, even like we spoke to on the podcast about Talby in the summer, was there's definitely a player there, but it might be a year too early to bring him into the Premier League. And I think we've kind of seen that, haven't we? He's not ready to play 90 minutes week in, week out and perform to a 7, 8, 9 out of 10 level every week. But he's got huge potential. We've seen that in different spells of different games. And, he's come so close. He's scored a number of goals this season. He scored a few, he scored the winner at Chelsea. He scored that great goal against Burnley. But he also came very close against Newcastle, didn't he? He came very close against Manchester United last week, where he cut inside and curled them in. He's got bags of potential. And I think all these players, this goes for Angulo as well as Talby and Diarra and Siddiqui and a number of others, they are at about 50 or 60% of the potential. Like, we are not seeing finished articles here. We're seeing players who've got bags of potential, and we've got to let them develop and let them do it. So, making a snap decision on Angulo now is ridiculous because we've not seen anything of him. He's Ecuadorian, been living in Belgium, comes to Sunderland, 22-year-old. It's going to take him a little bit of time to settle in, produce his best form. He's been hampered by injuries, been away with international duty. We just got to give these lads a chance and back him. And I think Angulo's I'm going to say it now, he's my one to watch next season because I think he'll really hit the ground running. And I cannot remember for the life of us what the third part of the question was.
I knew you'd forgot. I could see it in your face, Martin. It was Gachauda.
Oh, I think he's been superb. And I don't know why. This puzzles me completely, baffles me. He is a superb football player. He has been fantastic in the last 2 games. He strolls through games, and he just looks so comfortable and confident. His passing and his link up with other players on Sunday was phenomenal. And his celebrations at the end did not look to me like a fella who wants to be out of there. They look to me like a fella who wants to be playing and wants to be part of this squad and this club. So I desperately hope that the rumours in the press aren't true and we take up the option for him. Because I think if you start that season with the same personnel to select from in defence, I think you've got a straight fight between Ballard and Mukiele for right back, because I think Gachauda has got such a good chance of being the first choice right back for next season. And look, I think you've got to think as well that he came in on deadline day, so we'd already started the season. The defence has already been playing games together, and he hasn't been able to get a run in his position. This is the first time we've seen him play more than 1 game at right back, which is his position. He came in as a right back. So we shouldn't really be surprised that this Dutch international right back is actually quite good at right back, should we? But it seems to have took everybody by surprise. And I just hope that we can figure out a deal for him because I think he's superb.
Yeah, been an interesting one to see. just to change the topic completely, we've got a question in from David Elliott regarding, we're talking about you, Andrew, going to that cup game. But he's asking about tickets. He says, I'd love to get to an away game again, but I don't see how. He says, I came across a Facebook group of SAFC fans promising tickets, but I think it's a scam. Is there a legit way to get resale away tickets? And how come there always seems to be 100 plus tickets available on ticket sites? This is always a tough one for the club to manage in terms of, I know we had loyalty points and everybody's talking about that. I know recently, I think there's been a bit of a reset in terms of wiping 2 years. That, you know, I think it goes back 3 years or something. I can't remember the exact details, but I know some points were wiped to then allow people to almost catch up. It is a really strange one because I think we all know people who kind of maybe hand tickets or offer tickets out if they've got lots of loyalty points, but I think that's now against the rules, or maybe has been for quite some time. I'm not quite sure. But it's really tough for the club to manage, isn't it, Andrew?
It is. It's a thorny issue. I've only managed to get to 3 away games this season, and 2 of them were buying tickets in the home end. Legitimately, you know, I wasn't. I'm just checking I'm not dropping myself in it.
I was thinking that as well.
And I've got a reasonable amount of loyalty points at the moment, but just away games are so popular, they're not even getting down to my bracket of points. And as you say, I think over the summer ahead of next season, they have a cull, and you only keep the points obtained in the last 3 seasons. So my numbers are going to drop, and I'm going to find it even harder to get tickets in the away end directly. I don't know what the club do, unless they go and tell the players to start losing a few more games and people lose interest. It's going to be popular. I think the fact that we were back in the Premier League for the first time in a long while, and there was a lot of new grounds to go to, just added that extra excitement. And as for selling on tickets or letting people use your points, I'm not sure what else the club can do. There's been suggestions this season that people have had ID checks and what have you, but from what I understand, they weren't brilliantly communicated, so that left a few people feeling very unhappy. It's just sadly a price you've got to pay for having a team who are doing well and competing. And the only way you get round it is you build up your loyalty points, you go to cup games in the early rounds of tournaments, you maybe pick up games that are less fashionable. You know, everyone's going to want to be at the Mags and Arsenal and all that lot. You know, maybe if Sunderland are away to Ipswich on a Tuesday night and not everybody can make it, you've just got to take your chance and get tickets whilst you can.
Yeah, I know there's been a couple of games where there's been tickets available. You know, those tough ones, like you say, those Ipswich's midweek ones. And I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe your Bournemouths on a Sunday or whatever. But games like that. But yeah, it is a tough one for the club to manage. But let's get into a few questions we've got in about the season as a whole. And we've got one from Wallace Walbon Martin, and he asks, who has been Sunderland's most underrated player this season? He says lots of mint performances across the squad from beginning to end, but is there anyone you think hasn't gotten enough credit? And it has been a case of usual suspects. You know, every week when we review the games or give our reaction, we'll go, Jacques has been brilliant, Ballard's been brilliant, you know, the people who have really stood out. But as that question says, is there anybody who hasn't got the credit they deserve this season?
First of all, what was that name? Chris, say that name again. The question came from
Wallace Walbon.
He sounds like somebody who would bring the excitement, doesn't he? You want to get him along to a party with
he sounds like
Bacardi or something.
Yeah, so like a character from a 70s sitcom.
I'm glad you said sitcom. Yeah, look, I think everyone's been given quite a lot of praise throughout the course of the season, haven't they? And, you kind of pinpoint Reynaldo, for example, and go, well, he's been relatively consistent throughout the course of the season. He's played well, but, he has been given praise. The one I think is only just starting to get recognition for the impact he's had and the ability he has is Enzo Lefebvre. Because I think with Enzo, every week you get 100% in terms of application, consistency. He's been asked to play out of position for a huge chunk of this season. He's spent on the left-hand side, hasn't he? But his defensive work, it's easy to look at his nice passes and his little tricks and stuff. His defensive work has been absolutely pivotal to us this season. And I think that aspect of his game particularly gets overlooked sometimes. I think he is a complete football player because he does everything you'd want a midfield player to do. He's got the touch, he's got the vision, he's got the ability to pick a pass, he's got the ability to leave a defender on his arse, turn him inside out. He's also got the ability to sprint back 60 yards and win a crunch and slide and tackle. Like, he is just phenomenal. And I think what we've learned this season, it'd be really interesting exercise, wouldn't it, if you were able to sit Register Briss down and go, okay, after what you've learned this season, what would your starting team have been at the start of the season? Because Enzo wasn't in it. Enzo Lefebvre was on the bench at the start of the season. Now, I reckon if you went back in time, you go, Enzo Lefebvre number 10. Like, absolutely every day of the week. So I think from that perspective, you have to remember, at the start of the season, I see he was on the bench. The week before, he'd been left with the reserve team when the first team went over to Germany to play in the friendly at the Stadium of Light. So, he didn't start off the season being viewed as a first choice player for us. So he's had to fight his way back into the side for whatever reason. It baffled me at the time. I still can't see any logic in it. But he has been phenomenal. And it's dead easy to look at the performances Jacques has put in, the goals that Robbie's scored, the defensive work of Dan Ballard, the saves that Robin Roofs has made. Enzo Lefebvre's played pretty much every single game since he got back into the side. And I just think he has been phenomenal. Absolutely superb. Like, he's somebody who, if Jacques is not in the team, to me, he should be captain because he sets the tone, sets the example. And I just think I actually think he's the best player I've ever seen play for us. I can't think of anybody else who's got so much about them as a football player.
Well, actually, moving on, talking about being underrated player this season is potentially a category for the end of season awards. And Michael Conroy asks Andrew, he says, are you going to do an alternative end of season awards ceremony? And if so, what are the categories? It's a good one because we hadn't actually thought about anything like this, but actually Michael comes up with a pretty good idea, and we could end up doing something like this and doing something on this. But I don't know, Andrew, what do you reckon? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Most daft sending off, best hairdo. I don't know who looks best in the Sunderland strip. I don't know. I'm struggling now.
I mean, why are you burning through good content here, Chris? You're dead right. This could very easily be a really good pod on its own, but it is one that you'd have to have plenty of time to prepare for.
Best fight with away fans, Granit Xhaka at West Ham.
Yeah.
Just
I thought it's a narrow field, mate, isn't it?
It is. There's no runner up.
I didn't realise you meant players, Chris. I thought, not sure about that if we're encouraging scraps on the field behind the away end or something.
Well, you're sitting in those home ends. I don't know what's happened.
Oh, hey, I'm good boy, me. I'll behave myself. Yeah, there's all sorts. Anytime you go to a Sunderland game, there's stories. So weirdest outfit you've seen on the terraces, or funniest stories. There's all sorts. So yeah, just park that one and we'll give that a proper go in the summer, I reckon.
Well, I think we need to get people to email in with categories that they suggest.
Fair play,
Because,
yeah.
we've I said to Gav the other day, we've got a whole summer without any Sunderland matches to podcast through. So, we are gonna need to scrape the edges of the barrel, if not the bottom of it, aren't we?
Well, we said this the end of last season, and touch wood, it worked out all right. We managed to keep going every day during the summer, and we've got
And
a World Cup.
we've got World Cup, haven't we? So it'll be right.
Absolutely. Well, last one for today, and I'll put it to the both of you because I think this one's a really big one. And to finish our part one of this Q&A, and we'll, as I said, we'll focus more on the Chelsea game in part two. But this is a good place to end it, I think. And Andrew, actually, I'm going to start with you on this one because Jack Asprey sent one in, and he said that result, obviously the Everton result, he said that result really lifted my spirits after a horrendous couple of months. How many others do you think really benefited from having Sunderland as their club this season? And I know we've talked about quite a lot about mental health recently, Andrew, and you do your thing as well to help people on the mental health front. And it is, isn't it? I mean, you even feel how the city feels when you're walking around, or if you're out on a night out, or after the game, or before the game. The whole mood of the whole city, people going to work on a Monday morning, you feel differently. And maybe football shouldn't impact you that much. Maybe that's not necessarily a good thing. But at the same time, this season, you've got to think that Sunderland doing what they're doing and doing things in the right way has helped people on the mental health front in Sunderland.
Yeah, it probably has. And yeah, you're right. I know I personally could do with sometimes not letting it impact my mood as much as it does. But football is huge in terms of its impact on the community, and it can just be that way to start a conversation with somebody. What did you think of the match? You use it as an avenue to open up a conversation with somebody, and then you're saying, "Oh, and how you doing, mate? What about before the game? How you feeling? Blah blah blah." But it's been a real massive driver this year, and I think putting a smile on people's faces, no matter what their circumstances, no matter what they're going through, and even when we've lost, you can take it because you can see what the club are trying to do, and you can see that the players are putting it in and are committed. It's heartbreaking when you've spent a lot of money or a lot of time turning up to watch your team and you think, well, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a nick. He's just here for the money, whatever it is. But when you're looking at them, they're a group of lads you can be proud of. They seem like nice individuals. So you want to get behind them and you want to say, yeah, he represents me. He's part of this thing that I love. Results contribute to it, but just the club in general and how it operates and how it behaves and all of that thing. It's a part of Sunderland life. It's a part of life to a lot of people outside the city. And when it's going good, it's even better.
Yeah. Martin, just to bring you in on it, because look, it does play a huge part in our lives, and there is this tribal aspect that you're in it together. But again, as Andrew touched on, a lot has to do with the way the club are doing things. Whether they're doing the looking after fans, they're doing making the right decisions, making fans feel part of it is a big aspect of it, as well, of course, as the results. But because it is such a big part of people's lives, it does have a huge impact on mental health, doesn't it?
Well, it does from a number of levels, doesn't it? I think, on a really superficial level, if we win a game, it does put a spring in your step, doesn't it? It does lighten your own mood, whether you might be going through a lot, you might be going through nothing at all, but it does improve your mood if we've won a game, and that kind of is the good part of football, isn't it? There is a serious point to it, isn't it, in terms of that, there's so many aspects to it, right? Andrew and I talked about it the other day for a little bit as well with the work that the club have done with the black dog replacing the black cat and all that sort of stuff. It's so important, that connection and that belonging and that feeling of being part of something. And it can never, ever, ever be underestimated how important that is. And, again, you can't ever take for granted that just because we have won a game and your mate's happy because of the result, that isn't anything more than a superficial happiness, and there's other things going on. And, that result doesn't mask things at all, but it does make the world a lighter place for a little bit. So it's huge, right? And I think the biggest thing, the biggest positive for anything in this regard is that connection and that belonging and that access to potentially thousands of other people who share that common ground with you about the football club, that can then open other conversations up. It's far easier to talk to somebody who you kind of see a bit of yourself in. So having that shared conversation, because I'm crap at like talking to new people, right? But if I'm talking about football, I'll talk to somebody I don't know for hours. So it creates that common language, that common thing to talk about. If I go on, do you watch the Premier League or anything? I go, no. I go, oh shit. Do you like music? Like I just don't know what to say. So like you've got this common topic of conversation that you can actually open up conversations about, and then that can lead on to something else, can't it? So I think that bit of it can't be underestimated, because it's a really legitimate in to just start a conversation with somebody else who you don't necessarily know, maybe not spoken to too much, but then other things happen, other conversations spur up. Andrew's talked about the is it the Andy's Men's Club? And go to the fans museum, go and talk about Sunderland. Like, that's such an easy conversation to go and talk about. You don't need to talk about anything else if you don't want to, but that's such an easy in for a conversation. And you know that the person you're talking to will have that common ground with you, have that conversation. So it's fantastic. And I think, again, the biggest thing is it creates that commonality between everybody to start a conversation, because starting that conversation is the hardest thing to do.
Well said, Martin. Chris, just remind me who that correspondent was. What was their name?
Jack Asprey.
Well, fair play to Jack, because just having the guts to say out loud, I've had a couple of tough months. That might be all it takes for somebody else to go, bloody hell, do you know what? So have I. I might need to just speak up and just say it. So fair play to Jack for that. And I don't know Jack's circumstances. I don't know his details or why it's been a couple of tough months. If Jack or anybody else needs pointing in the right direction, there's loads of support. There's loads of groups in Sunderland and further afield. Just stick a message to Roker Report. Ask for it to be forwarded to me, and we'll try and see if we can find somebody who helps. Because Sunderland AFC is a massive impact, but sometimes you might feel you need extra support. But there's people out there, and just putting your hand up, just having the awareness and the guts to say, I'm a bit low. Fair play to you, man. That takes a lot.
And no coincidence that the amount of times we actually say that when we record podcasts and just talk to each other, that actually we end up saying it feels like an hour of therapy afterwards at the end. And we just generally feel so much happier. I mean, the three of us, take that as an example. The three of us were complete strangers at one time in the not so distant past. And now we're all like get on and have a laugh together by the fact that Sunderland Football Club has brought us together. And now I'll certainly from my part, consider you as good mates. And that's how it goes. And I just want to say as well, thank you, Martin, for reminding me of that blind and panic I get when someone says they don't like football when I'm trying to strike up a conversation with them. I remember the last time that happened. I was at a Halloween party and someone said, "No, I like tennis." And I went, "Oh God, I'm stuffed here."
It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to get a drink from the other room, and I'll not see you again. Basically, I'll run away. But yeah, but thanks for that, Martin. Reminding me of that awkwardness when you go, "Oh shit, there's nothing else." I'm stuffed now. But anyway, that's a good place to end our part one of our Q&A. And of course, I would say thank you very much to Andrew and Martin for their time as always. And in part two, as I said, lots of people have sent in a lot of questions, of course, about the Chelsea game and very specifically about the prospect of Europe. So we're going to look into getting into all of that. And thanks again for everyone for listening. Of course, don't forget, we'll have loads more on the Roker Report website about everything, and we'll be along with that part two to focus on the Chelsea game. As I said, because you lovely people have sent through loads of questions on that. So look out for that and everything else. But from us, it's bye for now.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like me, Sam, from the Fantasy Football Scout podcast, bringing you all things FPL. From chip strategy, captaincy decisions, top transfer picks and essential injury news, plus plenty of big name options from the likes of FPL Harry, Braz and Az. We've got you covered. Don't leave your mini leagues to chance. Search Fantasy Football Scout and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like Libero, a podcast about football, the most important of the least important things. I'm Rory Smith, and twice a week, along with 6 of the country's leading football journalists, we take you inside the game's biggest stories and discuss the most pressing issues facing the Premier League, the Champions League, and pretty much everything else. Join us as the season reaches its conclusion and we prepare for a massive summer of international football. Just search Libero wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.